Here's part 2 of the bond hearing update. This is what the prosecution had to say. The judge said that the main issue that we were dealing with today was the sufficiency of the evidence. The prosecution started off by showing us the entire 14-minute video of the body cam footage from the August 2nd welfare check. And here is what really struck me about it. Well, a couple things. Okay, so number one, right off the bat, the first people that the two officers encounter were the tenants who are renting the basement. Now, remember, this is a family from Colombia, and they do not speak English. They only speak Spanish. So they were not able to really communicate much with Naresh and Mamta. So the police officer who spoke Spanish said, hey, do you know, is Mamta Kafle home? And they were like, yeah, we don't know who that is. So like, they didn't even know her name. And then they figured out who they were talking about. They're like, no, we haven't seen her. And then they end up going to knock on the door to talk to Naresh. So this is what really struck me, is that the sequence of events was like, knock, knock, knock. Hi, we're looking for Mamta Kafle. And then Naresh, word vomit, all right? He is just like talking like a mile a minute. And says that Mamta left on Tuesday or Wednesday, which would have been the July 30th or 31st, to go to either Texas or New York. She had her phone, but then she destroyed the phone. She went to go visit her sister. She had 3 phones, he says at one point. The officer asks why she left. He said that we were separating and we're looking to sell the house, and so I have inspectors coming to the home. She didn't want to be here for that. Then he went on and said she used to live in Falls Church. Maybe she's somewhere in Manassas. She's just started a job on July 8th. And that basically she left the baby, and I guess was looking for another place to live. And that once things settled down, she would come back for the baby. He said that he had spoken to both her sister and her mother. He also said that this was not the first time she's left. He also said he does not have the sister's phone number, that they usually talk on Facebook. You know, then he said, she said she didn't want to live with my parents. She's run away multiple times. So like, that's why I haven't been worried about it, because she does this all the time, basically. She already took like a bunch of her stuff. So that's what's going on. So then the cops asked him for his ID. So he goes inside, and then the cops are talking to each other. Cop number 1 said, hey, we don't have contact, meaning contact with Mamta. But he said, get his info and tell him to give us a call if she comes home. Cop number 2 says, okay, yeah, we'll call the job and say that we spoke to the husband and they're going through a divorce and she left. So they totally bought his like story right off the bat. They kind of blew off the entire welfare check and was like, oh yeah, this is just, a couple that's getting a divorce and that's why she hasn't shown up to work. So Naresh comes back. He asks for the police officer's card so he can get back in touch with them. Then he just starts jabbering, and I really couldn't catch it because he was talking so fast. But he said something about Uber and previous times that she had left, and that she was supposed to return home by Sunday, if not Saturday night. But if she doesn't come home, he has to hire somebody to take care of the baby. The cop number 1 tells him to contact people she knows to try to find her. And then Naresh says, oh, also she has mental issues. That's the term he used, mental issues. It says that she disappeared for a week in March. Then he said, hopefully she'll be back by Sunday. Oh, and then he's like, well, maybe she also applied for a new job. And so maybe she's like trying to move somewhere else, so she just applied for a new job somewhere else too. So anyway, so that was the welfare check, 14 minutes. Then on August 4th, they submitted the text between Naresh and the police into evidence. At 9:09 on August 4th, he texted the police officer, Mamta Kafle is not back and I haven't had contact with her. 9:22, the officer responds, thank you for the update. If you believe she's gone missing, please call 911. 9:28, Naresh says thank you. 911 was called at some point after that, and then the report was filed the next day. Then Sweet tries to defend Detective Ventura and what he calls an error in her statement. He says that it was a, quote, reasonable inference, and he doesn't think it's a, quote, fatal flaw. And again, it could have been addressed at the grand jury prelim, but we didn't have those. And he said that, yeah, Mamta has gone missing before, but she didn't run away. She was fleeing from an abusive situation and she took the baby. And then he said, quote, and this, I'm going to try to get through this because I had a hard time getting through this during the live. She didn't voluntarily leave this man. She was disposed of by this man, end quote. Then Sarah Sammy came and laid out the evidence, and this is what we learned, and this was really difficult. She said that Mamta does not have a bio sister in the U.S., and that this sister is actually just a close friend, and that he's given vastly different stories about when he's last seen her. And you see my whole other video about what he said during the welfare check versus what he told the reporter. And then she gets into the timeline. And this timeline is coming from 25 different search warrants. July 27th, 8:17 p.m. Mamta Kafle is picked up outside of the hospital. July 28th, Naresh is in Baltimore for a good portion of the day. Mamta was home. At 6:03 p.m., she sent a Facebook message thanking somebody on Facebook Marketplace from whom she bought some jewelry. At 8:25 and 8:58, Mamta attempted to contact Naresh. She was at home. On July 29th, Naresh returned home at 12:29 a.m. Phone records show both of them were home for the majority of the day on July 29th. At 8:30 p.m., Mamta spoke with her mom via Facebook video call. That was a 14-minute call, and it was the last time Mamta spoke with her mother. Mamta was in constant communication with her parents 2 times a day, and up until that day. On July 30th at 5:40 a.m., Naresh sent a text to their babysitter, Amanda, and asked to drop the baby off after 8 a.m. He ended up dropping the baby off after 6:30 a.m. At 6:44 a.m., he's seen on video discarding bags in the dumpster at her apartment complex. Between July 30th and July 31st, Naresh is seen discarding many different bags at many different dump sites. At 6:53 a.m. on the 30th, he returns home. At 8:12 a.m., there's a video of him at Home Depot buying 2 pairs of rubberized gloves. At 8:41 a.m., he's seen buying a 3-pack of knives at Walmart. The 2 large knives have not been recovered. At 11:09 a.m. is the first missed call from Mamta's mom. At 3:45 p.m., Naresh picked up the baby from the babysitter and parked his Tesla by the same dumpster very far away from the apartment. At 5:22 p.m., Naresh went to Lidl and bought a 40-pack of black contractor bags. On July 31st at 1:30 a.m., video in Falls Church shows him with white gloves retrieving trash bags from the trunk and discarding them into a trash compactor. Now, this is near a property that he is renting out currently, but he had not seen the tenants at any point around this time. Sarah Sammy says that one of the bags was pretty significant and he had to hold one and support the bottom of it as if there was liquid inside. He did not have his phone at this time. At 8 a.m. on 7/31, Naresh dropped the baby off again at the babysitter's house. The babysitter said that Naresh was nervous both times. Video shows him driving by the same dumpster slowly and looking back at the dumpster. At 1:10 p.m., Tesla is seen on a license plate reader in Fairfax County. It's seen again at 1:28 and 1:47. All right, I'm running out of time. We're going to have to do a part 3.